I have two Jennifer Lopez perfumes, one of which I adore, which is Still, one of which I don't know how I feel about it at the moment, and there will be a review coming up, and I sort of just need to test it a bit more, which is her Original Glow. And I've tried some others, and I've never got along with them. They've always been a bit too sharp, kind of always smelled a bit like white wine. They haven't quite worked for me, but Still works amazingly on me, and I adore that perfume. And I thought that these two new perfumes from Jennifer Lopez both, I mean, pun not intended, sound promising. And so I thought I'd give them a sniff and see what I felt about them, and then I could let you guys know. So I'll start with Promise. Okay, so Promise, they come in these really pretty bottles. So Promise comes in, I think, the clear bottle, and one comes in a matte version of that same bottle. Let's try and get these both in. So Eau de Parfums, neither of them are particularly strong though, it has to be said. They're both kind of typical kind of celebrity and actually some designer perfume level of kind of strength in terms of parfum. So Promise has notes of, let's have a quick look if we can zoom in properly. Italian tangerine, pink berries and nashi pear in the top. Orris, jasmine, sambac and dewy honeysuckle in the middle notes, in the floral heart as it says here. In the sensual base, they've got crystallized amber, creamy sandalwood and cashmere wood. Now I thought this one sounded really interesting. Crystallized amber, I was particularly like, oh, that sounds really interesting. I wonder what that is. So anyway, I've tried this one on card, and I smelled it on card, and I was like, this really smells like something. It smells quite unoriginal to me. I feel like I've maybe got a perfume that smells like it, and I feel like I've got rid of quite a few perfumes that smell a bit like it. Now on my skin, this does not work. So where to start? This has the same profile as Chanel Chance Au Tendre and Marc Jacobs Daisy. So you know how you can say kind of this has a Baccarat Rouge profile. There's loads of different perfumes, all with different notes, but the general profile of them smells like the Baccarat Rouge and Cloud kind of DNA. This has the same DNA as Daisy and Chance Au Tendre, and this particular version actually, I think, smells very much like a Yardley perfume I tested. Well, I actually blind bought it and then got rid of it. I think that's actually called Daisy Sapphire. Now that one had a pencil shaving vibe to it, and so does this one. So I've got that kind of fruitiness in the top. You get the tangerine and you get the pear. I wouldn't have guessed there was pink berries, but it's just a general fruity vibe. There's a little bit more jasmine than I'm comfortable with. It's relatively sweet. It's slightly powdery, but it's just the base is pure pencil shavings on me. It's not quite that kind of intense tar smell that I get with some synthetic woods, but this has gone in the other direction. It just fully smells like my lip liner pencil, after I've kind of, used the sharpener on it. It just doesn't work. And this one, I would say, isn't necessarily a safe blind buy, because I'm certainly not the only person who this works very badly on their skin, so I think this is going to really rely on what your skin chemistry is like. What I will say is that this smells like a not nice version of one of the perfumes I really like, which is Sarah Jessica Parker's Stash Privé. So that's the pink version of Stash. Now those are technically discontinued, but in the UK you can get them everywhere, and they're not even affordable. They are cheap as chips. You can get a 30ml bottle of Stash Privé for $6.99. I think that's from the beauty store. You can also get it currently for $7.99 from Look Incredible. If you just Google Stash Privé, Prive. You will find it everywhere. Now that is a lovely, super easy reach, white t-shirt type smell that has that same profile as Daisy and Chanel Chance Eau Tendre, but it kind of dries down into a creamy body lotiony kind of smell. It's like it's super comfortable and really pretty, and it's noticeable, but it's not like in your face, which is exactly the same with this. And these are about 25 quid for a bottle. So I would say if you're looking for a lovely kind of Chance Eau Tendre style, slightly kind of woody but kind of chilled out, lovely white t-shirt type easy reach smell, don't bother with this one, because I think you're really going to risk it not working on your skin. Some people have said they get something fishy. I'm getting something sweaty. Lots of people have said it's kind of not necessarily pencil shavings, but that, you know, there's a lot of reviews where this doesn't work for them, and it doesn't work for me on my skin. It doesn't smell anywhere near as bad on card. So my skin chemistry doesn't agree with Promise at all. But yeah, honestly, I mean, I think you wouldn't be risking much by buying a little bottle of Stash Privé, because I think it's a really easy to wear perfume. I think it's smoother, it's kind of creamier, it's just really nicely blended, and it's absolute bargain. Probably has a very similar kind of projection as this one, same with lasting power. It's quite kind of close to the skin and subtle, but it's there and it's pretty, you know. Yeah, this is just straight up pencil shavings on me. It just doesn't work. So one, on the other hand, works better. This one works on my skin, but I'll tell you what, I'm still never going to buy a bottle, because this one smells like the love child of Katy Perry's Indie and Stash Unspoken by Sarah Jessica Parker. So this is like Stash Privé, this is like Stash Unspoken. Now, Stash Unspoken is delicious and warm and lovely. Katy Perry's Indie is much cooler. It's got like a slightly coconutty vibe, but it's like a powdery sandalwood. That one is incredibly musky. This one's not listing musk, but I don't know. The first blast of it, actually, of one, kind of smells a bit like the dupe I had recently from Superdrug, which was called Exotic Musk, interestingly. And that one is a dupe for Tom Ford's Santal Blush. And I think this has a kind of explosion at the beginning of it. It's quite bombastic when you first spray it, and it kind of smells a bit boozy. It smells like there's rum or something. And I'm guessing that it's this little note here. So let me just read the notes. Top notes: pink peppercorn, freesia and peach blossom. Heart notes: jasmine absolute, cedarwood oil, Clearwood Prisma, which says it's an intense woody patchouli note with an enhanced oak moss and ambery facet. So obviously something special, and I think that's where the big opening is coming from. Base is sandalwood, moss crystal and suede. So this one's smoother, it's softer, it's nicer. But yeah, definitely that opening, I'd say that's where I'm getting that slightly strong boozy vibe from, probably, because I don't think it would really, maybe like pink, I don't really like pink peppercorn, but I think maybe that's where that's coming from. But when it dries down, so it has that slight Santal Blush vibe, slightly boozy almost, and then it almost is a bit coconutty and starts to smell a bit like Katy Perry's Indie, but the dry down is way too warm to smell like Indie, and it smells much more like Stash Unspoken, which is just basically a beautiful sandalwood, tonka bean, honeysuckle kind of smell. It's just, well, kind of, those are the notes, but it's tonka bean heavy and sandalwood heavy, and it's sweet and powdery and creamy, and I absolutely adore Stash Unspoken. I have 2 backup bottles of that, so I've got like 300ml of that currently in my house, because it's my absolute favourite. And again, you can get currently, one of my backup bottles is from Beauty Base in the UK, and it was £12.99. And you can definitely get 100ml of Stash Unspoken for about 15 quid in the UK. Again, about the same projection, about the same longevity, but I think it's slightly nicer. So unless you just prefer the bottle of this to Stash Unspoken, I mean, Stash Unspoken's even got the same kind of colour, you know, and it is this kind of colour is correct for how it smells. There's just something skin-like and beautiful and cosy about Unspoken. And you could say the same for One. One is a nice perfume, but I never will need to buy this because Unspoken is nicer, I think, and it's cheaper. And I mean, I've already got loads of it, so I don't need this one. But I think of the two, One is definitely much nicer than Promise. And yeah, so I mean, I think if you just want something that smells like a warm, pretty, kind of powdery sandalwood that's a super easy reach, super easy to wear, perfect for autumn and winter specifically, then, you know, absolutely Jennifer Lopez One is a nice perfume. I haven't had the same kind of problems with it on my skin as I had with Promise. Promise just really, there's something in this that does not work, for me anyway, and I think for a few other people. I don't know if you can tell, but One is like a slightly pinker, it's like a pinker card, it's got like a slightly pinker vibe to it. It's moving towards the rose gold vibe, which is my favourite. But yeah, I mean, I'd say if you're genuinely interested in either of these, but you want to save yourself some money and you live in the UK, get Stash Privé instead of Promise, get Stash Unspoken instead of One. Yeah, I mean, I am not sponsored by Sarah Jessica Parker, but her Stash range, I think, are some of my all-time favourite perfumes now. I just think that they are amazing, and I wear them all the time. So, you know, I practice what I preach because I do wear them a lot. But yeah, so I mean, they were fun to try, but I definitely don't need a bottle of either of these guys.